Have you ever had a dream that felt more real than your actual day? A dream that followed you into the morning, as if it carried a message you still don't know how to read. Notice this. You didn't choose that dream. It chose you. Something inside you, long before your conscious will got involved, decided to show you that image, that face, that place that doesn't exist on any map. And what if I told you that this something isn't random at all? What if it followed a logic of its own, older than your personal history, older than your family, almost as old as the human species itself? Your dreams aren't noise, they're signal. You've probably had the feeling of repeating the same mistake in different relationships with different people, as if an invisible script were being performed again and again without your consent. You wake up tired of yourself without quite knowing why. Carl Jung put it plainly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That stings because it's true. What you've been calling bad luck, coincidence, this always happens to me, is actually a pattern that lives inside you, not outside you. And that pattern drains your energy every single day, quietly, while you keep believing you're simply unlucky. So I ask you, how many times has life shown you the same scene, with different actors, waiting for you to finally pay attention? And that's exactly what we're about to talk about. But first, we need to understand something essential about how the human mind actually works. Jung divided the psyche into layers, and the deepest one he called the collective unconscious. It isn't your personal unconscious, full of your specific memories and wounds. It's something larger, shared by all of humanity, made of universal patterns he called archetypes. The hero, the shadow, the wise one, the great mother. Picture an ancient library buried deep in the back of your mind, holding stories that every human being in every era has somehow already lived. When you dream of being chased, of falling, of wandering a maze, you're not inventing those images. You're reaching into that library. How many times have you had a dream that seemed to speak a completely different language from your waking life, full of symbols that logic simply can't explain? That happens because the unconscious doesn't speak the language of reason. It speaks the language of symbol, of image, of myth. And when you ignore that language for years, the body sends you the bill. Insomnia, anxiety with no clear cause, a restlessness that no amount of leisure can soothe. Jung said it well. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. Your waking life and your dream life aren't two separate worlds. They're in constant conversation. And if you never learn to listen to that conversation, you've been living half of your own existence in the dark. There's a specific character inside this architecture that Jung called the shadow. Everything you refused to accept in yourself because it was too inconvenient for your image, your family, your social circle. The anger you learned to swallow. The desire you learned to hide. The ambition you learned to call arrogance, and so repressed. That shadow doesn't disappear just because you deny it. It accumulates. And later it shows up disguised, in your most disturbing dreams, or worse, projected onto the people around you. Have you noticed how certain people irritate you in a way that feels disproportionate, almost personal, even when they barely affect you at all? Jung would explain this as shadow projection. You see outside yourself what you can't stand to admit exists inside you. The system you were raised in, family, school, religion, culture, all of it taught you to cut off pieces of yourself in the name of approval. Nobody told you this directly. It was a subtle conditioning, almost invisible, made of disapproving looks and strategic silences. And the result is that you learn to hate in others exactly what you repressed in yourself. That ambitious coworker who bothers you. That free-spirited person who irritates you. That strong voice you despise. Often, what you judge most harshly is a mirror of what you hid most carefully. You played this game without realizing it, cutting pieces off yourself to fit into spaces too small for who you actually are. But the moment you stop reacting and start observing, the whole game changes. This isn't about eliminating the shadow. It's about integrating it. Jung called this process individuation, the path of becoming whole, not perfect, but whole. It isn't about turning into a good person all the time. It's about no longer pretending that parts of you don't exist. Start today with something simple. Write down your dreams the moment you wake up, before the rational mind erases them. Notice, without judgment, what deeply irritates you in others. There may be a clue about yourself hiding right there. Ask yourself, in the middle of a strong reaction. What part of me is being touched right now? And pay attention to the meaningful coincidences in your life, what Jung called synchronicity, events that seem connected by meaning rather than by cause. Jung was clear about what's at stake. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens fully into freedom. If you're beginning this process of looking inward, it's worth exploring further into dreams, archetypes, and the map of the Jungian psyche. This territory changes the way you understand yourself. Expect resistance. People around you may find it strange when you stop reacting automatically. Stop over-explaining yourself. Stop hiding. That's expected. Every real transformation unsettles before it liberates. First comes silence. The silence of no longer running from your own dreams, of no longer avoiding what disturbs you. Then comes clarity, when you start recognizing the patterns that once felt like fate, and now simply look like you, finally visible to yourself. And then comes peace, not because the conflicts vanished, but because you stopped fighting against parts of yourself. You stop being a reactor and start being the creator of your own story instead of replaying old scenes in new costumes. You will lose the illusion that it was all just bad luck, that it was all just, this always happens to me. But you will find yourself, maybe for the first time, truly. Leave this in the comments. Do you remember your dreams, or did you stop paying attention to them long ago? And if you want, write this. I am ready to look at my own shadow. Writing it down is already the first step of the process. Keep watching the next video. It matters, much more than you realize.